Okay, we're going to perform a mock baptism in order to give you some information about baptism itself. So this is a typical baptistry. Most churches that have a baptistry, the baptistry looks like this. There's about 3.5 feet of standing water, two entranceways into the baptistry, which serve as dressing rooms in the back, where the individual being baptized has a kind of a private spot where they can change and get ready, and then the other room where the minister or whoever is performing the baptism can also do the same. A couple of recommendations: if you're putting in a baptistry or if you already have one, good idea that there's an ongoing filter to continually clean the water, because after all it's just a miniature swimming pool and that water needs to be cleaned continually, and also a heating element to make sure that the water is warm. I always tell the brethren, make sure the baptistry water is clean and warm and ready, so you don't have to spend hours filling up a baptistry and warming the water when somebody decides that they wish to be baptized. You can go immediately to the baptistry and perform that baptistry. A couple of things about our own baptistry here at the Choctaw congregation. We have a built-in microphone pointing into the baptistry itself that is able to pick up the conversation or the words that the individual says when they confess their faith, and if they're doing a prayer or whatever. Individuals who are observing that in the congregation, perhaps sitting in the pews, are able to hear clearly what the individual is saying, what the exchange going on, so on and so forth. Also, this is a safety feature. We have heard and read many times, unfortunately, that people tried to go into the baptistry with a microphone on them, not realizing that that microphone is plugged into something which is electric, and there's a danger of electrocution. Okay, one other thing I want to show you before we actually do the baptism, so you'll need to come with me. We're going to go into the changing room. Here we are in the baptistry changing room. I've been in a lot of these type of rooms, and I can say that it's important that you provide the things needed by the individual who is going to be baptized. The first thing you might notice is there's a sign on the door here, and it says baptistry changing room, and in brackets, no storage. One of the temptations in a lot of churches is to use this room, which stays empty most of the time, to begin using it as storage. And I've been in churches and gone into their baptistry changing room where they were storing chairs and wedding paraphernalia and all kinds of extra boxes of lighting, because they felt, well, this is only used once in a while and we can use it as storage. But you need to remember that the individual who's being baptized, this is one of the most important days and moments of their life. And so when they walk into the baptistry changing room and see that it's being used as a storage area, that doesn't speak well of what we think the meaning of baptism is. So in our changing room, we try to make it clean and neat. We provide the things that an individual who's going to be immersed in water may need. A hairdryer, certainly a mirror to comb and to finish drying their hair. Chairs, because many times, especially ladies, they usually have someone come in with them to help them change and do other things. And so there needs to be a place for them to sit. Kleenex, because there's crying that goes on many times. The joy of the moment overtakes the individual. And then, of course, in this particular room, making sure that we have clothing that an individual can use in order to be baptized. Plenty of towels, the individual can use. A small thing, but a handy thing, is a hamper in order to put wet towels and wet baptistry clothing into until such time these things can be taken care of. I suggest that there's an additional closet or private changing place. Many times, especially for women, 2 or 3 women come in to help that individual, to support that individual, but maybe that individual would like to have some privacy as she changes into the garments that she will use for the baptistry. So a good thing to remember, make sure the baptistry changing room is clean and it has all the things that the individual might need for that most important moment. Okay, we're going to go on and into the baptistry now to give a demonstration of an immersion. We're in the baptistry with Mike here is, of course, has been baptized many years ago, but he's kindly allowed us to do this practice baptism with using him. A couple of things to remember. Of course, if we're talking about baptism, the word baptism means to immerse in water. So if someone is baptized, it means they're immersed in the water. A couple of things to remember when you baptize someone. If you're going to baptize, you can baptize them a variety of ways. A person could go straight down into the water one way. In the first century, for a long time, they went face first into the water. What we do nowadays is actually lean the person back to go, to be buried underwater in order to reenact what is written in Romans chapter 6, that baptism is a burial. So in a burial, we don't think of somebody, kind of stooping down into the grave or going forward into the grave. In a burial, we're thinking of a person being laid to rest in a grave, and that's what we're mimicking in a baptism. So I'm going to ask Mike to turn around this way. And when we baptize someone, there's a variety of ways. Sometimes before people get in the water, we ask them to make their confession of faith. Do you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God? And they say, yes, I do. Sometimes we do it while we're in the baptistry. So for now, I'll do it in the baptistry. I'll ask Mike, just work our way through it. Michael, do you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Yes, that's fine. Now, one of the things we do to make sure not to have any injuries, measure how tall the person is, so that when you bring them down, they don't hit their head on the steps or anything. So usually I move them forward to make sure that I have a lot of clearance for them to go backwards. That's one thing. And the second thing is I ask them to kind of hold their nose, because if you go backwards into the water, it'll be normal that the water will rush into your nose. So we tell people to kind of hold their nose so the water doesn't rush in, and then clasp their hand like that. So you have all of their arms and hands. You've got all of them with one arm supporting their back in this way, and your other hand in the front supporting them in the front. And when you're going to pull them back up, they'll help you pull them, back up using both of your hands as you grip with your right hand both of their hand and their wrist. Another thing that I do is I ask the person to bend their knees slightly so that they don't have to go straight back. It puts less pressure on the back. So then make sure you're supporting them with your left hand so that they don't fall, and you go down and up. One thing to remember, is a burial. So when you go down, go all the way down. One of the good things about holding them like this is you assure yourself that the person is completely immersed. You don't want them to have their hands, sticking up in the air as they go out. So but with this way, you're making sure that the entire body is going to be immersed. All right, that's immersion baptism.